and welcome to the first episode of ECCB Connects. I take this opportunity on behalf of the entire production team to wish you all the best for 2017. We start this year's program on a somber yet celebratory mood as we remember the life and work of our former governor, the late Honorable Sir Dwight Venner.
Sir Dwight Venner, I would say, was a man of strong family values and great leadership style.
I can say about Gov, as we affectionately called him, that he was a very strong leader, but on the inside he was a gentle person. He was an avid reader. He loved to read economics, and as a result he loved to have those economic discussions with us as economists.
I would describe Sir Dwight as a compassionate boss who always wanted the best for people.
Sir Dwight, for me, was very firm, but at the same time he was very caring.
Sir Dwight was a strategic thinker. He worked well and will surely be missed.
Sir Dwight was a visionary, he was a regionalist, he was a very high-spirited individual, he was very pleasant, warm, a genuine person and colleague.
To me, he's just the professor.
Sir Dwight was a phenomenal man. He was a visionary and a commanding figure in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union.
Sir Dwight was a wonderful and very kind-hearted person.
I have been privileged to serve under his leadership for 24 years out of the 26-year tenure that he has served the region. And personally, I find him to be a man of great leadership style. Some of the things I recall over the period is his ring of laughter, his infectious laughter, and his broad smile. And, even on the sporting field, his capability in that area. But he has led this institution, in a dynamic way, and I commend him for that.
For me, working with him was always a pleasure. I always looked up to him because I know that he would always come up with something that I was not expecting. So it was always good working with him, and he always sought our ideas and opinions on things. As I said, he loved economics, and because we are economists, he always thought that we had something to bring to the table. So he would engage us in all kind of conversations, current affairs, things that were happening in countries in the world, and how we think that it would benefit or impact the economies of the ECCU.
I was a member of the first batch of recruits that Sir Dwight brought into the ECCB in 1991. So I have had the distinct pleasure of working with him for close to 25 years. A short 3 years after I joined the bank, Sir Dwight made me a member of the management team. And 4 years later, he further expressed his trust in me and appointed me as the first director of the Banking and Monetary Operations Department. He was a mentor, and as a coach, I distinctly hear him saying, "Shorty, I know you can do it. You have my full support."
He played an important role in molding my career as an economist in the research department. I can recall many times he generously shared many clippings, books, articles on economic theory, economic history, monetary policy, currency stability, just to name a few. And it became something that whenever he traveled and he came back, we look forward to receiving articles such as those. And it gave us a sense that he cared. He was interested in making sure that we were up to date with the various issues in economics. And it really gave us a good feeling, gave me a good feeling as an economist, and I'm sure the other economists will testify to that as well.
I would describe Sir Dwight as a strategic thinker, and he took his responsibilities to heart. He worked hard for the ECHMB, which is a success now in the ECCU.
My experience of working with Sir Dwight in the past 18 years was a very memorable one. It was a pleasure meeting and working with Sir Dwight. He was always supportive to us or to me as an individual and whatever I do. He was a person that will encourage you to aspire and go after your dreams and goals in life. He was always supportive.
My experience with him was a quite interesting one in that it would have gone through in phases. Initially where you have the professional relationship as governor's aide to him, and then as the years went by, you know, that barrier break where you realize that you become more comfortable and it become a friendship. And then in latter years there, it basically become what his wife referred to as a special relationship between Danny and Governor. And that's the point that it got to. I didn't feel anymore like it was a job. You know, there was a time when I traveled with him once or twice, and like when there was a Nevis, I think, who went, and one of the persons asked if that was his son, and he referred to and said yes. And we had a good laugh about it, but that is where the relationship got to. You feel like, you know, it was more of a father-son relationship.
I had the privilege of working under the governorship of Sir Dwight for 21 of my 23-year tenure at the research department of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Central Bank. He had the staff interest at heart. He organized a number of training activities for staff development and succession planning, training in time management, presentation skills, teamwork, you know, those areas, including a number of others. He also pushed the research effort, and he instilled in us the importance of formulating policy responses based on theoretical research and international best practices to strengthen growth and accelerate economic and social development in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. He also established a number of activities while he was governor. Some of these include the annual research seminar series, the annual development conference, the Sir Arthur Lewis Memorial Lecture. He also brought in leading policy development practitioners and scholars to share with staff the state-of-the-art thinking and research on important issues facing the currency union.
My experience working with Sir Dwight was a very good experience. He was almost like a father to me. I worked closely with him for the last 3 years before he left office. And on a daily basis, he gave me a nickname. He called me Kiddo. So, you know, it made me feel more like a father-daughter relationship as opposed to a boss and an admin assistant.
Again, in terms of his leadership style, I have benefited from that. I have seen him as an astute leader, and I can look at the values that he has portrayed over the years, and I myself would like to exemplify that as a leader myself.
Well, personally, what I remember most, what I enjoyed most, is our one-on-one conversation. Sometimes he would meet me on the steps or at the front of the building, and would have a conversation about anything that was happening in any of the countries, and he would say, "Oh, Bev, you heard this about St. Lucia, or you heard this about this country," and then we would start the conversation. And even more so too, he would ask me about my family, about my son, how my son is doing, and so on. So he had that personal touch. Sometimes he would show up at our netball practices and just encourage us when we were having games and so. And, you know, we were free with him. We knew that we could talk to him. He was this kind of person outside of work.
Oh, the impact has been tremendous. I don't only think of Sir Dwight as a boss. I think of him as a big brother, a mentor, a coach. And so he will always be in my heart.
Well, one of the greatest lesson that I learned from him is he always instilled that we always must strive for excellence, to be the best that we can be. I can recall when he would gather us together in the boardroom just to tell us stories, life stories. Those were very profound. But I think what impacted me, you know, greatly was that although he would be profound in telling us the stories, he always juxtaposed it with some bit of humor, laughter. And that gave us a sense of comfort, gave us a sense, you know, that he cared. His relating the various stories to us, some of them we were able to, as we got older, we can relate to, and some of them, you know, still very impactful because the life lessons in terms of striving for excellence and doing your best always stood out. And so for that I'm eternally grateful for the time that he took, you know, from his busy schedule during the work time to share with us, to mold us, and to tutor us. You know, that has been very impactful for me as an economist. And so now as a deputy director, and I'm now given the task to supervise a number of economists, you know, some of what he has imparted to me, I try my very best to emulate and to impart to the economists that I have the responsibility to supervise.
We held our AGM in St. Lucia, the Eastern Caribbean Home Mortgage Bank and the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange in November, 7th of November in St. Lucia. And we sent out the invitations to shareholders and persons that we wanted to invite. But Sir Venner gave us a list of personal friends and acquaintances that he wanted to invite to the ceremony. He stated that he had not seen them since his retirement and returned to St. Lucia. And the corporate secretary and myself individually took time off to call these persons to ensure that they had received the invitation and to tell them that Sir Venner had personally invited them. And most of these persons came, and he was very pleased. His wife was there, his last daughter, his son, and his two grandsons and the wife. And it was a beautiful ceremony. It took a different form, but because persons took time off to wish him well for his services to the ECCB, the sister institutions, and the region on a whole. And Governor Antoine was there. He too thanked him personally, and it was a beautiful ceremony. And in the end, he hugged and thanked me. And his last words to me, I will see you in February. So I really want to take time off on behalf of the Eastern Caribbean Home Mortgage Bank, the Board of Directors and staff, to wish our heartfelt condolences to Lady Venner, Lady Linda and her family, to Jen Venner and his family, and to the entire Venner family. May he rest in eternal peace. He will surely be missed.
Personally, he had a positive impact on me because he would always challenge you and he would always encourage you to do well, and he would not only encourage you, but he would help you along the way. I think Sir Dwight was a very genuine person. He was a friend to me.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, he made me a better individual. And not just in terms of his teachings. Part of the reason why I refer to him as professor, because as days go by, a lot of teachings, a lot of listening, a lot of long talks in his office. And you learn a lot from him. But I think the impact came by actually looking at him work. The dedication, the long hours. you know, the commitment to the cause, and from there, it would have impacted me in a way to see that here is an individual at this level in society, and the time and effort that he's putting in to get, you know, the best out of what he's trying to achieve. And from that alone, you know, would have impacted me in a positive way, and woke up, this is really the example that is set for us to follow.
He has really left an impact on me, and I think many of us who have gone to this bank, he always encouraged staff to excel in whatever we do. Aim for high standards, think outside the box, and be practical in our policy responses, bearing in mind the fact that our member governments are challenged by human and financial resources. I will miss Sir Dwight and miss hearing Sister Shields, as he affectionately called me. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Sir Dwight had a positive impact on my life, and I think this quote that he would always use in a number of his speeches summed it up nicely. Success seems to be connected with action. Successful people keep moving. They make mistakes, but they don't quit. He always encouraged me to keep at it, do the best that I can do, and don't quit.
The funeral service for Sir Dwight Venner will be held at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, 4th January at the Minor Basilica of the Immaculate Conception, Castries, St. Lucia.
You're watching ECCB Connects, protecting our currency, developing our region.
We've come to the end of this week's episode of ECCB Connects. Thank you very much for watching, and do join us again next week for another program.